All right, folks. So I'm actually amazed that I never actually did a video on my very first AR that I've ever bought. So I've had this rifle for many years now. Maybe less than a decade or so, but quite a few years, and it's been through quite a bit of my life. Um, I probably have around 3 to 4 thousand rounds through this thing. I've almost kind of lost track, to be honest, but also never miss a chance to rep Texas, of course. This is my Armalite SPR Mod 1. Now, this is actual OG Armalite. I mean, we're talking like this is no kidding, Armalite, and you can tell right there. That's their new-ish logo, I think. It's the lion, and it says Armalite right there on the receiver, Geneseo, Illinois. So, it's about as original as you can get, right? So, the story behind this thing is a long time ago, a close family friend had passed away, and he had a Mini 14 in his possession. And thankfully, we were able to save it from the vultures that were his family. So, unfortunately, that Mini 14, though, was a ban era weapon. So, during the assault weapons ban, there's a lot of features that were not allowed on weapons, and that was like your flash hiders, your bayonet lugs, your magazines greater than 10 rounds, so on and so forth. So at that time, Ruger made Mini 14s to be chambered only in 223 and not 556. I didn't realize how much of a difference that actually made, though, when it came to chambering certain ammo. And I was wondering why the heck I was having so many problems with this gun. So what I realized was the 556 is ever so slightly different from the 223. So that Mini 14 didn't really like taking the 556 ammo hardly at all. So I figured, you know what, that thing is a ban era gun. It didn't have any threaded barrel. It didn't have any flash hider. No bayonet lug. To me, it was basically neutered, and I wanted to get rid of it. So I sold it to a friend of mine for a fairly reasonable price, and I took that money and I went to the base gun shop and I said, okay, I need to get me a proper AR-15 because everyone in the mother's got an AR-15, and everybody and their mother should have an AR-15, I think. So I went with a super basic 16-inch barrel carbine profile, AR-15, and this is what we have here. Now, obviously, it didn't come this way. It came without the iron sights here. It came without the Magpul Mo handguard here, so it just came with round handguards and a basic M4 carbine plastic stock that we've seen all over. Basic A2 style grip, so super basic AR-15 style rifle, and it was around $800. So this is, like I said, my very first AR-15 that I ever got, and I have been immensely pleased with it ever since. This thing has been an absolute trooper. I got the little tag on here. It says, remove before flight because I like to have fun. I have put this thing through its paces. I've been to many competitions with this. First competition, this was my go-to rifle because I figured, hey, if there's anything that needs to get done doing, a 16-inch carbine AR will definitely do the job. So I really do feel like, though, that this is pretty much the about as close to ideal setup as you can get for a do-it-all rifle. I mean, this is the rifle that I use for home defense when my shotgun's not available or pistol's not in my nightstand. I always keep a standard combat load of 6+1 magazines full, 30-round mags, always in the house somewhere, just in case I need to go somewhere and do something, on a very short notice. So standard combat loadout, like I said, 6+1 magazines, 6 carried on the person, 1 on the gun. Pretty standard stuff. But since I've got this rifle, and because I didn't really have any, I wasn't going for a theme build, I wanted the most practical thing I could get. So I ended up putting the Magpul handguards on here with all the nice M-lock and everything, because to me, that's the most practical thing you can get. I did change the stocks a few times on this. Originally, I went with a Magpul Mo, but I really liked the B5 stock system on here. I forget who makes this, but I love the cheek welds on this. It feels very comfy to me. I kind of like how it looks too. It looks very military, utilitarian. Obviously, I went with a Magpul rubberized grip here. Fantastic, love it. And of course added some iron sights as well, because in my opinion, I think every rifle should have iron sights, unless it's like a dedicated like bench gun that's purely made for optics. You know, that's a little different. But for me, for a practical fighting rifle, you should absolutely have iron sights of some variety, shape, sort, or form on your rifle. That's just me. So I'm a little old school when it comes to that. And other than that, this thing's basically stock. I did replace the trigger on it. I put Aero Precision's 2-stage nickel boron trigger on here because I wanted to see how that thing would turn out. And it's worked pretty well. It works pretty well. I personally prefer 2-stage triggers over anything else. The regular trigger that came in this was your basic standard milspec. Nothing to write home about, but it wasn't bad either. Because I did actually put a scope on this, a basic Leopold 3-9 scope on it, and I put some match ammo. And I really wanted to see what this thing could do at the range. So accuracy-wise, this thing was actually capable of sub-MOA accuracy at 100 yards with the right ammo. I was very, very impressed by that, because I don't really know who made all the components for this rifle, because even though it does say Armalite, as is the case with a lot of these AR-15 style builds, just because the brand on there is the company that you might think it is, it doesn't necessarily mean that all the parts of that gun were from that company. So I've heard for a while there, Aero Precision was actually the OEM manufacturer for a lot of Armalite rifles. So considering when this one was made, because they don't make this one anymore, I think this one was probably made by Aero Precision, which is a good thing, because all of the Aero Precision products I've ever used and reviewed have been absolutely fantastic. So, you know, good on Armalite for using a very good, reputable company for their parts. And unfortunately, like I said, this specific rifle is not made anymore by Armalite. I think Armalite had I don't know, I guess a rebranding or restructuring recently, where if you ask me, honestly, the quality of the rifles went down quite a bit. They're not as nice as this one, and every single time I actually look up the SPR Mod 1 of Armalite, it usually comes out with like a much longer rifle style or mid-length, like super duper kind of sporting rifle thing, not a 16-inch carbine like this. So I'm not entirely sure the story behind this one, but the point is, they don't make it anymore, but I still have a lot of faith in Armalite products to give you honestly a pretty decent rifle for what you're paying. And of course, it has the original Armalite name on it, so people who care about that kind of thing, of course, are going to enjoy that. I personally enjoy it because everyone always says, "Yeah, I've got an AR-15." Like, yeah, well, do you have the original Armalite on there? Yeah, I do. So, yeah, that's just nice. But yeah, not really too much to say, because, like I said, this is your super basic, no frills 16-inch carbine. Honestly, not anything special. I do really like the fact that ARs are very modular, because I can put all kinds of stuff in here and experiment. This is kind of like my experimentation rifle that I can try all sorts of stuff on, because I don't feel guilty about race gunning it, so to speak, or putting a whole bunch of custom parts and stuff on it, because that's kind of what this thing was meant for. I want it to be the most practical fighting rifle that I can get, kind of the do-all rifle, all reliable. Like I said, I've probably put around 3,000 to 4,000 rounds through this thing, and I mean, shoot, you can tell the condition. It looks basically brand new. Like I said, I've been through some competitions. I've crawled through dirt. I've ran all kinds of miles with this stuff, and it just keeps going. As long as you keep it clean, service it like how you're supposed to, it's gonna be no problem at all. Yeah. So as of right now, though, I do have a Sig Sauer Romeo 5 on there, because honestly, I've been kind of impressed by these optics, like how much they cost. This optic was about $100. I think honestly the best red dot you can probably get for $100, and I feel totally confident running my practical fighting rifle with the Romeo 5 on there. Although if I had my choice, I would probably replace this with an Aimpoint, probably like a Aimpoint Pro or a Comp N2 M4 or one of those. But of course, I'm not made of money, so someday. My Aimpoint Pro is currently sitting on my 300 Blackout rifle, so or pistol, whatever you want to call it. It's sitting on that one, so I'm not going to move it. But this is perfectly reasonable, capable for what this thing needs to do and what I intend to do with it. So, like I said, practical fighting rifle. This works 100% just fine for anything you really need it to do. So, I guess component-wise, bulk carriers, your basics like phosphate, BCG, nothing really fancy there. Maybe one of these days I'll replace it with a nicer one, but it's kind of hard to argue the performance of this thing with just like the basic stock parts, you know. A lot of these ARs, frankly, if you just leave them stock, there's nothing wrong with them. There really isn't. So, I mean, people who want to buy all the nicer parts, nicer BCGs and things like that, spend the money. Like, yeah, you can do that, but then it's like, well, what do you do with all those parts that you already have? Like, do you build another rifle? You know, that's what I tend to do. So, you know, one rifle becomes two eventually at some point. You know, they just kind of multiply in the safe, and no one can really explain how that works, but you know, it happens. So, yeah, I am totally 100% pleased that my first AR experience was as good as this one. Yeah, this one will continue to serve me, I'm sure, for many years to come. And I just like shooting it. It just never had a jam, never had an issue, never had a failure to feed, nothing. It's always been working reliably for me, and it's very accurate. Like I said earlier, with nice match ammo, this thing can get sub-MOA accuracy. So there's a lot of, frankly, I've experienced a lot of other cheaper builds for AR-15s in the 16-inch variety that have not been able to achieve that accuracy, not even come close. I'm looking at you, Palmetto State. You know, so really the extra money I think that you pay for a lot of these AR-15s that may seem like, oh, well, it's just like all the others. Not necessarily. I think there is a certain quality that you get when you do pay a little bit extra. Now, of course, some of that can be a little bit overinflated, and your experience may vary depending on all the different manufacturers and parts and things out there, because there's a lot of AR-15 manufacturers and parts out there, let me tell you. It is bewildering. But if you're buying just a factory build, honestly, I don't think you can go wrong with Armalite, Aero Precision, you know, Dano Defense, BCM, those big names like that. Spend a little extra and you'll get something a little extra, right? So that's just what I think. But yeah, I mean, it's an AR-15. Yeah, I am super happy that I was able to basically trade my Mini 14 that was a band era gun, basically for this rifle, which is a million times more practical. I mean, don't get me wrong, I really love Mini 14s, I really do, and I miss having one, and someday I'm going to get another one. But in terms of practical fighting rifle, there is nothing more practical than the AR-15, AR-10 style pattern of rifle. These are, in my opinion, the most practical fighting rifle that you can get. If you need to defend yourself, home, family, whatever you need to do, okay, if you're hunting four-legged predators, if you're hunting two-legged predators, okay, or defending yourself from said two-legged predators, I really honestly think the AR-15 in a 16-inch barrel like this is probably the most effective, do everything all-around good rifle. So, and of course, that was proven in a certain legal case recently, but I won't mention names, but I'm sure you can figure out who I'm talking about. So, yeah, really not a whole lot to say here. I mean, it's basic rifle, made by Armalite. Armalite makes good stuff. Honestly, I think their most recent editions are a little bit lower quality, and you're still paying a lot of money for them. But honestly, I don't think you can go wrong with them. You know, I think for the money that you're paying, you're going to get a good rifle regardless. It's going to work for you. So yeah, I like having an OG Armalite to my collection, and this is the first AR, like I said, I've had, and I've been very pleased with it. So yeah. Anyway, pretty short video on this because, like I said, there's not really a whole lot to cover when it comes to ARs because everyone and their mother has one. Everyone knows about them. There's not really a whole lot to talk about because, for the most part, I've kept the internals kind of stock on this. I'm not putting all kinds of fancy BCGs and messing with the carbine buffer in the springs and all that stuff. You don't really need to do that. Keeping rifles as they are stock and maybe making a few additions that don't really matter so much, you know, like personal preference, grips, stocks, handguards, right? it's all personal preference, whatever you want to do. The point is the rifle is going to work for you. So when it matters the most, this thing will absolutely serve just fine. Although I really do need to put a weapon light on this. If I'm really going to use it as like a home defense kind of defense rifle, I think every defensive weapon should have a light on it. Also another personal thing of mine, but hey, gotta add some Picatinny rails here to the M-LOK slots and do that and kind of kit it out how I need it to be. But in the meantime, hey, this thing has worked 100% just fine. And so pretty awesome rifle. I'm glad to have it, and super happy that this is my first AR. One of many, of course. I think I've probably had 6 or 7 of them now. But like I said, 1 rifle will become 2 in your safe, and 2 will become 4 before you know it. But anyway, that's all I gotta say about this. Armalite makes really good stuff. I haven't really seen Armalite stuff in a shop, but if you ever do come across them, BioConfidence, they're good. They're good quality stuff. Even if all the parts are supplied by like Aero Precision or a different company, they put them together well enough, and it's Armalite. Haven't really had an issue with them. Never heard an issue with Armalite rifles. So there you go. Go with the originals, right? So anyway, that's all I got to say about this one, and I hope you guys liked my little first AR ever kind of thing. I'm surprised it took me this long to even talk about it, but it's just been so ubiquitous in my mind that I don't even think about it half the time. It's just always there, reliable, right? So anyway, that's all I gotta say about that, and we'll catch you next time. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.